All right, so let's move on to clarity. I'm going to talk to you about the 3 B's of clarity. I know you think there should be C's because clarity starts with a C, but that's not how I'm doing this. 3 B's of clarity. Be prepared, be flexible, and be quiet. So when we talk about being prepared, you got to know some things. You need to know who is your audience. You got to know who is your audience, what is your message, and what is your purpose. What is your purpose? A lot of times we get into conversations and we don't know what we want to get out of it, and then we walk away from that conversation going, shoot. Has that ever happened? Right? You walk away and you're like, that was not even, or you walk away and you go, what in the world? What just happened there? So you want to know your purpose. What is it that you want to get out of the conversation? What do you want the other person to get out of the conversation? And you need to share your purpose. You ever have someone come talk to you and they just start talking and you're wondering, so where are we going with this conversation? What is it that have you been there? You've been there, and you've been on the other side also. So you want to state your purpose. Look, the reason I'm talking today because I want to clarify a few things, or I need to brainstorm some ideas, so I'm going to throw some things at you. Let me know what the purpose of this conversation is so that we can have more clarity. You also want to know your audience. Who's in the audience? Who are they? What do they need? And how do they need to get it, right? What is their level of knowledge? I need to know before I give this presentation or have this conversation, how much do they know about what I'm talking about? And here's the deal. Do not assume you know how much or little they know. Oh, nothing burns me up better when someone talks down to me, right? Like I don't know, like I'm an idiot. I'd rather you ask me first how much I know before you talk down to me like I don't know, right? We don't like to be mansplained, do we? You know, we don't like to be womansplained either. We don't like to be splained in general. So make sure you check the level of knowledge before you start talking. And what is the level of authority? How much authority do they have to make the decisions that you need? And what is it that they want? What do they need? One of my mentors used to say when I was studying to be a speaker, don't confuse what you have to say with what the audience needs to hear. Right? I know you have stuff on your mind, but what do they need to hear to do the thing that you want them to do? So you want to get to know your audience, and how do they need to get that message? How do they need to get the message? Should it be a text message, an email? Should it be a phone call? Should it be face-to-face? How do they need to get that message? So that is being prepared. The next thing we want to talk about is being flexible. We got a lot of different kind of people that we have conversations with, right? Lots of different kinds of people. And 2 of the filters that I want to talk about are just gender and generation. We looked at a whole list of them, and that wasn't even exhaustive, but we have a lot of filters that we go through. Gender. Question, do men and women speak differently? Do they communicate differently? Yes or no? Yes, they do. Very good. So, women, what do women think about men? Tell me. In terms of conversation. That's a different class. What do we think about men in conversation? They're going to dominate. They don't listen. Absolutely. That is what women think, that they are dismissive, right? That they don't listen, and they're pushy and aggressive. They're always trying to dominate the conversation. But men, what do we know about women? What do we know about women in conversations? I know there's not a lot of men in here. You might feel a little intimidated. But that's okay, because I'm going to be on your side. A lot of men believe that women talk too much. They believe that they talk too much, and at the same time, they don't speak up, right? And that they are indecisive. They're always checking in with people. Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think? Well, right? Make a decision already. All right, so we have these counter things going on. But here's why. It's because men and women have different purposes in communication. It is the way that we are wired. For men, communication, to talk, it's a competition for dominance. I need to prove that I know everything that I know everything, period. but I need to dominate the conversation. That you see men talking to each other, they're always one-upping each other. That's the way they do it, right? It's nothing personal, it's just the way they do it. They basically relate or report facts and things, right? They focus on individuality. They're very logical based. When it comes to sales and making and negotiation, very logical, very the thought process. Very logical appeal. When it comes to women, we're on a different page. Our purpose for communication, our purpose is to build rapport, is to build relationship, not to top each other, but just to talk to each other, to relate to each other, right? We don't report on things and facts. We build rapport by talking about feelings. We focus on the team. And for us, you want to sell us something, it's got to be an emotional appeal. It's got to be an experience. What is it going to feel like? Does that make sense? And that's one of the reasons, or those are some of the reasons that men and women, when they communicate, they bonk heads. So what are some suggestions? First of all, you need to just be aware. Just be aware that there are differences. You need to recognize that there is no right or wrong, good or bad, better or worse. It just is. We are different. That's what makes the world go round. So we need to understand that. You need to be aware of your own biases, unconscious and conscious biases, right? Because you have them against the opposite sex sometimes. So you need to be aware of that. And most of all, you just need to be flexible. You need to be flexible. You have to speak differently to different people. So for men, take time to develop the relationship. Just a suggestion, just slow down. Try to pull back from the need to dominate, because it's not gonna work well if your audience is a woman. And for women, get to the point. Get to the point! You know how you are. Talking all over the place. You're talking to a man, get to the point. Bluff, right? Bottom line up front. Then we can talk about the details and how we got to that decision. Does that make sense? If they are interested. So, and don't take it personally. When men are doing that competitive thing, that role for dominance, it has nothing to do with you. It is not about you. It is the way they are wired. Is that good? So that's just a little bit of something on the gender differences. Get it? Got it. Good. All right, so let's move on to generational differences. How many of you are dealing with some different generations, right, in the workplace, right? They're all over the place. What is wrong with these people? That's how we feel. Whatever generation we're in, what is wrong with those people? Because we, of course, got it right. So here are a couple of categories of generations. So you figure out where you are. Figure out where you are. Do we have any traditionalists in the room? Any traditionalists? All right. How about baby boomers? You have baby boomers in the room? There you go. Got a few baby boomers. Gen X. Are you in the room? Gen X representing? Okay. And what about millennials? How many millennials do you have in the room? Got lots of millennials, because that is the future right there. Okay. So what we need to know about traditionalists is basically, when we're talking about communication, they prefer face-to-face communication. Right? They want you to respect them. They want you to respect their experience. They've brought a lot to the table. They have a focus on authority and a tradition. Tradition is very valuable to that. When we're talking about baby boomers, how are you going to communicate with them? Basically, they prefer email or a phone call. Come on, pick up the phone and just give them a call, because sometimes it's back and forth with the emails and the texting. It doesn't get it. Right? So sometimes you need to pick up the phone. They want you to respect them. They want you to respect their title and everything that they've done to get to this point in their lives. They like to focus on the process. This is how we do it. And they want you to do it the way they do it, because that's their focus. They believe that this is the process that works, right? And with them, work comes first. That's the priority. This is why they don't understand you people in Generation X who want to focus on your family. That's craziness. What are you talking about? It's all about work. But let's talk about Generation X. Generation X, how do they want to be communicated with? Email or text, generally speaking. See, the thing about Gen X is that they were here before technology And they are here now with technology. This is the generation that knows how to do it manually, right? You ask some of the new generations, can you do that manually? They're like, what's that? What are you talking about? Don't know how to do that. So they are in that generation. Email or text, what's important to them? They want you to respect their ideas, the ideas that they bring to the table, because Gen X is focused on getting it done, results. They're always looking at, okay, so I see that process. How can I make it better? How can I make it quicker? How can I get it done? That is what Gen X is all about. And for Gen X, family comes first. Work is just work. This is just a job. My family is what's important to me. And then you have your millennials. Basically, they'd rather get text messages or use one of the apps, right? For a millennial. And these are all generalities. Not every millennial, not every baby boomer, heck, not every man, not every woman. These are generalities. But for a millennial, why are you calling me? You know what? Next time, could you send me a text to tell me that you're going to call me? Because then I can be prepared for the phone call. Now, but seriously, why? Why are you in my cubicle? Stop. I need warning before we have, I got to prepare myself for face-to-face conversations, right? Because I can do this so quickly anyway. But you got to know your different generations. You're having trouble getting a baby boomer and you keep texting and you keep texting, pick up the phone. Does that make sense? Baby boomer, you're trying to get through to a millennial and you keep leaving voicemails. That is just not going to happen, right? We need to understand that's not how they communicate best. Does that make sense? For millennials, they want you to respect their skills. And they want you to stop talking bad about them. Every generation before looks at the next generation and goes, What is wrong with these young people? Traditionalists said it about the baby boomers. Boomers said it about Generation X, and everybody is saying it about millennials. Cut it out. I'm an employment attorney, so I don't like discrimination. That is discrimination. Let's go back one more. So you've got these 4 different generations, and they communicate differently. And I know what you're saying, Star, I am busy. I don't have time to try to communicate differently with all these different people. You don't have time, but you need to make time. Consider this. Consider you have yourself a fleet of cars. Yes, you have yourself a fleet of cars. You've got your diesel, you've got your Toyota, you've got your Prius, right? You've got these cars on your team. And let's just say that you are a diesel kind of person, right? I run diesel. This is the way I do the thing. And the thing gets done. Outstanding. And you've got this Mack truck working for you. He takes diesel too. Excellent. On the same page, but then you've got a Toyota. You gonna put diesel in the Toyota because that's the way you roll? Well, you can do that if you want to, but are you gonna get the best out of that Toyota? You are not. And what about these newer models? You know, the younger ones that need to be plugged in half the time, right? Are you gonna insist on putting diesel in that Prius? Go ahead if you want to. You the boss. But here's what you gotta know. You're not gonna get the best out of that Prius. We have to consider what we have on our fleet. Who are we dealing with? And we have to give them the fuel that they need to do the best job that they can do. Get it? Good.